everyone's playing the same build, and it's just going to be nuts. And then everyone's dropping tons and tons of currency, except for the new players coming into the game having no idea what it is. And they'll be like, oh, let's upgrade my character. I have 15 exalted orbs, because they drop quite frequently. They open up the trade, and you know, an item with 1 resistance roll and a half decent life costs 60 divines.
If Magic Find is not in the game or Rarity, your goal is to make your character as powerful as possible. And that's how you make a powerful magic finding character.
Is this mageblood? I've never seen this icon. No, wait a minute. Is this mageblood?
It's pretty crazy to me. I definitely didn't think it would be this imbalanced. If all they said tomorrow is we are removing all sources of rarity from the game, I'd be like, that's great. Is this sort of like, man? Oh my god! I told you! What do you mean? Hey, buddy!
So really, what's the difference between dropping multiple or a couple divines in a breach because you have a bunch of magic find gear on in this particular league, or duping a mageblood that popped out of a blight chest? Right, like your build didn't need to be insanely strong to duplicate a mageblood out of a blight chest on a T13 uncorrupted jungle valley, right? Like how is that? How is your build? How did you push your build to the max to do that? Right, like it doesn't make sense. Or how did you pull a mirror out of a ritual? Right, you didn't take your build to the max. Like you scaled the tree to have more chance for more rewarding rewards in the ritual, right? Like you got a mirror at a sanctum. Oh, well, it's because you spec'd into being able to see all the rooms on the maps, right? There's all these things in all the other leagues that allowed you to drop more things. But for some reason, when it's an item on your gear and not in your tree or anywhere else, like it's a problem. Like, why is it such a problem if it's on your gear and you're not duping a blight chest on a you know what I mean? Like it doesn't like why does that matter? Why does it matter? I don't understand why it makes a difference. And the fact is we don't have access to those mechanics and an atlas tree that allows us to dupe mage bloods and drop stacks of divines and pluck a mirror out of a ritual or out of a sanctum or whatever. We have a couple bare bones mechanics. And we have one way to hear the zing that we all hunt for, and it's a little bit of magic find and breach. That's what we have. Now, does it make sense to nerf that, or does it make more sense to bring up some of the other mechanics? Let's get some better items in ritual. Let's make it so that crafting is not horrendous in expedition, and you can actually get a couple usable items out of it like we used to, right? Like, why do we have to go crazy and like destroy something that people are enjoying when you could just bring up some other things that people aren't enjoying, right? Like it's why do we have to nerf it into the ground? Why not bring up some of the other things to be more fun? Like everybody has to be miserable? I don't get it. All right, boys. So I got a hot take today, but rarity is not as much of a problem as everybody is making it out to be. So let me explain. Everybody needs to calm down, okay? So right away, number one, Magic Find has always been part of the game. It has always been part of the game, whether it is, a Wind Ripper in T3 Towers, just farming Alk and Go with, a very weak character that can't do hardly anything in the game, but can spam farm T3 Towers and make a bunch of money, right? And you're just zipping, can't do anything else in the game. You devoted all this time for a specific character that can only do one thing in the game, and it's to farm one map over and over and over and over and over and over and over, right? So this has existed forever. This item, this unique item, has quantity and rarity on it, right? There's a million other ones. Quantity, rarity on ventors, quantity. You've got biscos, you've got it all over the place. Quantity, right? Now, quantity doesn't exist. There's just rarity. But people still love Magic Find. People love making Magic Find characters. And just like before, Magic Find characters can't do everything in the game. They can efficiently farm breaches right now. That is what they can do. And in my opinion, that is the most fun mechanic. It is more fun than Ritual, and it is definitely more fun than Expedition. Expedition is absolutely useless. So why? So what is the problem? Everybody's freaking out. It's been in the game, and you have people saying, "Oh, well, now it's required, and you have to do it because I think that a strong build should trump a fast build that can map, and it can. Like, what are we freaking out about? Like, go farm the bosses. A Magic Find character shouldn't be able to go farm the bosses. And even if you go look at someone's build like Fubgun, he has multiple different versions. He has a Magic Find version. He has his bossing version. He has his early game version. He has all these different versions. Why? Because his mapping version, his Magic Find version, can't efficiently go farm the bosses who drop the most expensive items in the game, right? Temporalis or whatever it is worth like 250 divines. But people are freaking out that a Magic Find character is getting a couple divines in a map. Like it doesn't, but can't go do that boss. Like if your concern is that your character should be strong and like it should be able to do everything. Well, unfortunately, I'm going to say like you should probably go play Diablo, because that's a Diablo trait where a character is just universally can do everything in the game, and all the characters kind of reach a point where like they can all beat Uber Lilith and they can all farm Nightmare Dungeons and they can all, but that's not Path of Exile. That's just not this game. I learned that the hard way when I tried making a zippy mapping build for Diablo, and everybody freaked out. Like, this can't do the bosses. This damage is and I was like, the whole point was just to be able to be really, really fast and kill lots of small monster packs efficiently and just get through maps. But everybody lost their mind. So I was like, okay, so that's not a thing in Diablo. And you have all these Diablo players coming over now where they think that every build should be able to do everything. But that's not this game. Like that's simply not Path of Exile. So there are like for instance, not Magic Find, not anything. Think of a hexblast miner making more money than any other build in the game, running Sanctum. And that's all the build can do. You can either kill Ubers or you can run Sanctum. Can't map, can't do anything. But it just that has nothing to do with Magic Find. It's not unfair because those people are running into Sanctum and getting mirrors. No, everybody can go do that. If you want to go farm Sanctum, then go farm Sanctum. Make a Hexblast miner that does 1 billion DPS in half a second, and then you can go farm Ubers but then you can't do anything else in the game, right? And that is this game. Like you're able to min-max a build to be able to efficiently farm one mechanic or one boss or whatever the case is, and it's always been that way. And that's why I like to make my first character of a league a standard character, get through everything, make some money, and then for about the last 3 or 4 years, my second character is almost always a Magic Find character because that's the most enjoyable style to play. I like dropping divination cards and I like dropping currency. Right now, we don't have divination cards. All we have is currency. We don't have quantity. So you don't have a way to farm currency if that's your style, because quantity doesn't exist right now. As a matter of fact, nothing really exists. There are no mods to roll onto things. So let's take a look just really quickly at what's available. So if we look at Path of Exile to a bow, these are the options. And again, Magic, it's not on there. This is just an example. There is no rarity on a bow. But let's just, for an example, here are the potential mods that you can roll on a bow in Path of Exile 2. So again, some are desirable, some are not, but there's not a ton of options. Now let's look at a bow in Path of Exile 1. So here are your base mods. Then you have Shaper mods and Elder mods and Crusader mods and Redeemer mods and Hunter mods and Warlord mods and Delve mods and Incursion mods and Veiled mods and Crafting Bench mods and Essence mods. Do you see? So there are no options to roll on your gear right now outside of Rarity. Like it just that is the only extra stat that is available right now, because you can't go in and get socketed gems chain an additional time, or damage penetrates, or attack speed, or culling strike, or +1 any power charges, or any of these things that we would normally be min-maxing to get don't exist in the game. So there's one modifier that exists in the game that allows you to take your standard build to a higher level, and that is Rarity. Rarity is the only mod that exists right now that allows you to, once you've finished your build once you've gotten to your build to a point where it can do everything in the game, there is no min-maxing for an additional power charge, or for socketed gems do this, or for a 12-link claw, or there's not an option. So the one option that is left right now is to add Rarity into your builds and get better drops. That's it. Which is no different than Affliction League that I know a few of the gentlemen at the start of the video enjoyed. Some of those clips were from the league. That league, you were required to run Magic Find. Like, you were insane to not run Magic Find, and it was arguably one of the best leagues that we have ever had, was Affliction. One of my favorite leagues ever, and everybody was running Magic Find. Everybody. New Magic Find builds emerged. The fulcrum, right? This new build shows up, and now people don't just have to run bow builds to make a Magic Find. Now you have a little more depth in your Magic Find. Okay? And so it doesn't make a lot of sense why people are getting so upset, because again, like, if you want to min-max your build, start adding Rarity. If you don't want to add Rarity because you think your character should be very, very strong and be able to farm the bosses, then do that. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, if you think that your character should be very, very strong and can do everything in the game, then number one, you should probably go back to Diablo, because that's not really what this game is. Usually there's a couple builds a league that are really overpowered, and then they last for a league, and then they get nerfed, like Aura Stackers, whatever. Blade Vortex, there's a million, Toxic Rain, there's a million different builds that were just high level. This is what you ran. They were the best that league. And then, maybe they dwindled or they got nerfed or whatever the case is. That has always been the case. And now people are saying, oh, well, like, you have to run Archmage, or you have to run Lightning Arrow because of Magic Find. No, it doesn't have anything to do with Magic Find. It's the fact that there's only a couple really crazy builds. Like for instance, right now I'm working on an Ice Shot build. And the fact of the matter is it's just not as good as Lightning Arrow. Whether you have Magic Find or not, it's just not in as good of a place. And there's a lot of skills like that right now that just aren't up to snuff with some of the other ones. And that's just the way it is. It doesn't have anything to do with Rarity. It has the fact to do with GGG has not given us a ton of uniques and a ton of skill gems and a ton, so we're kind of limited with what they've provided us, and some things are much stronger than others. That doesn't have anything to do with Rarity and everything to do with the skills that have been released, right? Rarity is not the reason why Rarity is playing a part in these builds is because those builds are the strongest. So it's easy. You can just slot in some Rarity very, very easily. But it doesn't have anything to do with the fact that, you have to do Magic Find on this build. No, these builds are just inherently stronger and easier to get going, and then start adding the fun things into your build. Like, it's just much faster. Right? So with that being said, you have a plenty of builds that can beat the Pinnacle boss and do the end game content and run through the labs and do all this kind of stuff. And GGG, more so than ever, has made it so that big monsters, bosses, are more rewarding than they've ever been. Right? Just to sustain your maps, you have to make sure that you're killing the bosses. The bosses drop multiple pieces of currency, exalts and chaos and all sorts of stuff every single time you kill them with no Magic Find. And I know that because my first character had 0 Magic Find, and bosses would often, especially in tier 15s, explode with maps and currency and stuff like that with 0 Magic Find, right? My new character that I'm putting a little bit of Rarity into struggles horrifically with bosses. It's brutal. It's very difficult. And so sometimes I just die to the boss and I don't get anything from the boss because I can't even kill it because my Magic Find character is not strong enough. It can kill everything in a breach. It's a breeze. But if I have to go into a boss room, it's very difficult, and I have to sit there and chip away, and it's a nightmare, right? So again, there's a lot, and I'm kind of breezing through all these things, and this is a bit of a rant, but like it's come on, guys, like what are we freaking out about? Now, the next thing, one of the big things that I've heard people go on and on about is that everything costs a divine. Everything is so expensive. Like a ring with 2 resists and life is 1 divine. And hang on a second. Everybody calm down. Let me show you something real quick. Let's search. Let's get the price checker up. Life and 2 resists. Oh my, it's a divine. Everything is 1 divine. Oh my God. Well, let's bring this up and take a look. It's not. Right? Okay, so you have this in here and you're like, oh, this is crazy. Like this dude he's gonna get blown up. Okay. Let me show you a quick little trick. Yeah, I get it. Everything costs 1 divine. Everything is 1 divine. Let me show you a quick trick. You just go ahead and switch this over to exalted orbs. Oh my goodness. Now the same rings that all said they were 1 divine are 50 chaos, 60 chaos. It's not that crazy. Like the API on the site is broken. So it tells you everything that is in divines. But if you just take a second to click around and see what's going on, change things to exalted orb, all of a sudden now you have rings with 100 life, 2 resists. You've got huge mana rolls, accuracy for 30 exalted. Like these are too expensive. Like this one even has your rarity on it. 2 resists, life per enemy kill. This is a good ring. Fuck 30 exalted orbs. So everyone's like, they're all divines. This is crazy. Like, no, the API on the site is broken, so it tells you everything costs 1 divine all the time. But it's just not the case. There's plenty of items on the site for reasonably priced. So again, this is me getting a little bit upset because it's like you have all these big streamers being like, everything's a divine and everything's going to be so expensive and we don't have any money. Yeah, no, I mean, there's your ring. You're going on and on about 2 resists in life. There it is, 30 exalted. Like, just adjust some settings on the trade side. The API is not working very well right now, and it is listing things for divines before it is listing things for 15 exalts. It's not as big of a problem as everybody thinks it is. There's plenty of items there that you can go buy with your couple of exalts or whatever the case is. Now, with that being said, for those of you that play softcore trade league, is it unreasonable for a ring that has, high tier life, couple high tier resists, and maybe 1 other high tier modifier? So you've got 4 high tier desirable modifiers. Is that not unreasonable to cost 1 divine orb in any other Path of Exile league? It's not. It's really not. Like that's kind of the going rate for a ring with life and a couple other high tier desirable modifiers. It starts at a divine. Like it always has, and like who's paying 10, 15 chaos? Well, used to be chaos, now it's exalts. Who's paying that for a ring that has T1 life and 2 T2 resists on it? Like, when have you ever done that? Like, in what league? Tell me, please. So again, it's everybody's going on and saying about everything's so expensive. It's not. It's really not. And again, so now with that being said, even if it was, it makes sense that it should be expensive. Things should be expensive because for the first time in a long time, we cannot deterministically craft things. You can basically drop items or you can gamble them. Yes, there are a couple other methods. You can use omens, and essences are actually halfway decent. You can get a good solid 3 modifier item with 2 essences. So essences are somewhat affordable and you can start your items. But after your first 3 items, you're basically slamming things on, or you're looking for the insanely priced omens that the Beltons of the world are all grabbing to make their mirror tier bows that we can't get our hands on because they cost 15, 20 divines per omen. So there's no way to make our, +2 arrow, crit, attack speed, fizz bows anymore, right? You have to drop one. You have to get lucky or slam an exalt on one and gamble and try to hit the mod. And it's just you just can't get those items. So when one of those items show up on the market, they are far more rare than they have ever been. So they should be priced higher. these items, these high level items that you're talking about, that in all the other path leagues, you mean Affliction League, where we all were dropping stacks of 30 divines and it was just going absolutely insane? Like the Settlers League, where we're getting mirror shards out of a ship? Like what are we talking about here? Like, there's not a lot of good items that drop and you cannot craft them. So the good ones are going to be expensive. It's just as simply a supply and demand thing here, situation, right? There is not a lot of supply and demand is just as high, if not higher than it's ever been. So the cost of the supply is going to continue to creep up, right? It all makes sense. And I'm having a hard time grasping why everybody's freaking out so hard about all this. So again, the price checker API is not working. Just search for things in Exalts and you will see that there are affordable items on the market, right? So lastly, and this has been a huge rant, I've kind of been all over the place, but to finish it off, why not let the first league be a rarity league? Like, what else is it? Like, it's not a breach league. It's not an expedition league. That's for sure. It's not a ritual league. Like, why not let the beta, let early access, whatever it is, be the rarity league, where every single build can play a little bit of Magic Find. Every single build. It's easy to work it in. You don't have any other options to put a mod right there because there aren't any other good mods to put. So, like, why not be a rarity league for our first path league, where all of us can throw a little rarity on and drop some divines, because we're not dropping div cards. Zings, our only zings are divines. That's it. There are no div cards. There's a handful of uniques, but they all drop from the bosses. They don't drop from Magic Find. They drop from the bosses, generally speaking. So why not? Like, why not? Why can't this league be the league that we all try to get a little rarity on our gear? Why not? What's the problem with that? And it has nothing to do with, some builds are just stronger than others. That's just the way it is. It doesn't have anything to do with rarity. And that's always been the case, and it'll always be the case. So it's okay for builds to specialize. Magic Find is okay. Please use the UI on the trade site to adjust the API so that you can find your items. Not everything costs a divine. You just need to do some quick little adjustments on the site. And that's it. And again, this was a rant. I love Magic Find. I love just hearing zing, zing, zing. And I've run Magic Find consistently for about 4 years now. And I hope that all these videos and everybody freaking out doesn't ruin the fun that a large community love. All your Fubgun fans, all your Snoobay fans, all those people love Magic Find. So it's okay for other people to have fun sometimes too. Even though your build, your archetype is not the meta type for this league, that is okay. Either continue to play your off meta build or make a meta build, like so many of you have done in the past. All right, that's it. I'm gonna leave it there. I want to stream. I'm gonna get on. We're leveling Ice Shot. My rant is over. I personally love Magic Find. I don't think it's much of a problem as everybody thinks that it is. Maybe I'm wrong. Let me know in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. And we'll see you on the stream. Peace.